Okay, so many of you watching my videos wonder where I stand. Is he a Democrat or is he a Republican? I would say I'm both. My voting history in the past has been in 1988. I actually worked on the Michael Dukakis campaign and voted for him. Maybe looking back, that was a bit foolish, but I mean, I think he was still a better choice than the head of the CIA and Bush Senior, who but although Bush Senior did do a good job in the first Desert Storm to do a limited war, but I guess it wouldn't have made any difference back in that time, who was president. Probably the outcome would have been the same. As we're seeing, the military and the presidents are very independent things. The president generally, uh, for the most part, listens to the military. I mean, I don't know about the exit in Afghanistan. That was a probably pretty bad thing, but now we see Biden doing as much as he can for Ukraine. But then in 1992, 96, I voted for Bill Clinton. I didn't really see any other choice there. And then 2000, I voted for Al Gore. And I think he would have been a better president than Bush Jr. Bush Jr. got us into a lot of trouble in Iraq. But I did vote for him in the second round. I just didn't like John Kerry. So in 2004, I voted for Bush Jr. And then 2008, I voted for Obama. 2012, I voted for Libertarian Gary Johnson, but now I'm pretty anti-libertarian after seeing the way Rand Paul is with Ukraine, and now I'm coming to the realization that libertarians are working for the Russians. They want America to be like neutral and decentralized, and looking inward, and then the Russians can do whatever they want, and their philosophy is like, well, as long as it's not affecting us, we don't care. But it would affect us. It would affect us at some point. They would end up dividing up Europe and gobbling up countries one at a time, and by then it would be too late, and they would have a lot of momentum and have bought off, Africa and the Middle East with their manipulation and resources. So yeah, yeah, and then what did I vote? Then I voted for Trump twice, and I think in 2024, I would, if I'm still a U.S. citizen, I'm debating whether or not to keep the passport. I'm Norwegian now as well. I would probably want to see Liz Warren and Mike Pence on the same ticket. Either Liz Warren as president, Mike Pence as VP again, or Mike Pence as president. That would be better. And then Liz Warren as vice president. I still want a little bit more red than blue, in that mix. So yeah, I would like to see Mike Pence and Liz Warren on the same ticket and work it out to have like a pro-American yet compassionate society. So here's where I stand on the issues. So I'll just go down these one at a time without getting into too much detail, and I'll probably have future videos discussing this. We definitely need to have governments behind the labor unions so that individual workers can stand a chance against overbearing companies. Um, in general, a government is supposed to be on the side of the people and be an opposing force to corporations. If it wasn't for unions, we wouldn't even have weekends. And the unions can get us a better work-life balance. If they were backed up, workers could have better hours, there would be better pay, there'd be less executive compensation. The balance would go back to what it was in the 70s, where the CEO only got 50 times the average worker's pay, and now they're getting like 600 times the average worker's pay. So we have to bring these things back into balance so that the society is more balanced and more sustainable, and that the money is in the middle, not at the top. The money does more good when it's flowing around in the middle class, between small businesses than sitting at the top in hedge funds. So um, I'll just say this to a lot of you red pilled people out there. You only get four choices in government. You get corrupt elected governments, corrupt unelected governments, you get drug cartels and gangs, or you get corporations. Hermits in the woods with a bunch of guns and ammo, they're not going to run the country anytime soon. And such people end up just getting surrounded and starved out, sieged up and stuff. I mean, they're not going to. So the corrupt elected government, we actually elect them, and if we took more part and took more care and attended all the venues, and pressured our elected officials more, we could actually get policy we want. That is something we can control. So you people who are like all anti-government, you're really just anti-yourself. That's my view. Because you are that government. And an elected government is a government elected by the people. And you might say elections are rigged and everything, but people got to take part and people got to educate themselves. And yeah, there is a lot of corruption in the media and everything, but if people would put their effort into learning about the society they live in and take part in their government and do that boring stuff instead of just vegging their brains on Netflix and pro sports, we would actually have a good society. America is pretty good. Western Europe is pretty good. I live in both. I'm from both, I should say. I don't live in both. I live in Europe now. But so definitely pro union. I'm definitely pro healthcare. Healthcare should definitely be a right in a Western country, but not the way you think, like the government just give it to you. What the government needs to do is tax the foods that make us sick, and that kind of covers my next point: is to regulate processed food. Like sodas and macaroni and cheese and McDonald's and all this stuff. But they got to tax all the foods that make us sick. The top 10 health reasons or top 10 reasons why we visit the doctors. I think 8 out of 10 of them are preventable. So I have that, yeah, top reasons we visit the doctor here. And let's just take a look at this. Um, so I'll just get that there. It's coming up. Um, but the point is, I don't know what's going on with the internet here. Let me just see. Let me just get this going here. Let's see. Yeah, that's another thing. I agree with Joe Biden. We need more money for higher speed internet. So most of these ailments here you see in the top 10: skin disorders, joint pain, back problems, cholesterol problems, upper respiratory problems, not including asthma, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, diabetes. 8 out of 10 of these things can be prevented through proper diet and some exercise. Diet has more of an effect than exercise. So let me get back here to my agenda. Here we are. So yeah, I'll have a separate episode on that, but we tax the things that make us sick and we subsidize the things that are good for us, like, fresh vegetables, potatoes, brown rice, these kind of things, and processed meat. I'm all for if the meat's coming from a small farm or it's been hunted, I'm actually for subsidizing that if the farm is like less than 400 acres and it's a family farm. But if it's one of these corporate farms that are like, like I used to see when I was in Kansas, and probably my K-State fellow K-Staters will probably hate me for this because a lot of them are from these giant farms that have their own airstrips and stuff. That stuff should be taxed. I mean, they're just pumping these cows, and it's all about weight, getting the weight up, and the margins and everything. They really don't care about like the health of the end person, other than what the regulation requires. So if we can tax the processed foods and all of these and make the foods that's good for us cheaper. So Whole Foods would be like cheap and McDonald's would be like really expensive, even though Whole Foods sells a whole lot of crap too. I've been there. But maybe that would make more of a middle class economy, having stuff more bought at farmers markets and smaller grocery stores, and bring back a middle class small business economy of shops and things like that. So yeah, yeah. If we can just get people's health better, because it's becoming a strategic issue now as well. The army doesn't have enough young, fit people to recruit, and we're going into we are definitely seeing war as a reality, even in this modern era, and we need to be ready for it. Good or bad wars, we need to be ready for it. Um, I'm definitely antitrust. That we have to put the reins in on corporations. Like I said before, there's only four options we have. Uh, Elected governments, unelected governments, drug cartels, and corporations. And the only difference between drug cartels and corporations is legality. They both are run the same way, and they both have the same goals: to get every penny they can and squeeze out all the margins. And if they could, they would run over the workers. They would pay the workers as little as they could, and They only do what's required, to keep things going, and that. So you need government, which is the force of the people against these no, basically modern day monarchs or modern day nobility or modern day aristocrats. They've now become corporations. These families like that run BMW or big steel companies. They've been around for hundreds of years in one form or another. So you need the power of the people, the body of people, to hold up against these monoliths, or otherwise you'll end up getting an unelected government. Someone like Karl Marx or Vladimir Lenin or Joseph Stalin become real appealing when life becomes so hopeless and you have a massive discontent people. And now you have the internet, and it would be really easy to do something like that if you make life so hopeless. So definitely we need to break up these corporations, keep them fighting each other, keep it's better for the consumer. We definitely need to regulate them, as well, so that they're not canning dog food and telling us it's caviar. They used to do that actually. And that's why you had to have the FDA and have a lot of food regulations, because there was actually a lot of monkey business going on. You're not even allowed to videotape inside McDonald's factories or Tyson Foods, and the conditions in those factories are horrid. There's plenty of documentaries about that. So yeah, we it's better to have 1,000 millionaires than 1 billionaire. That would do more for society if we could take every billionaire and break up their wealth and spread it out to 1,000 people and make 1,000 people a millionaire at the expense of 1 billionaire. Believe me, that would be much much better for society, and those people would still be rich, just not stupid rich, where they are taking all their money out of the system and then starving the rest of the people out. The millionaire would be competing with another millionaire, and they would be investing their money, and there'd be boom and bust, and another person would be able to step in and be a millionaire and try their luck at managing the money. That's kind of what we need to see, is some fluidness in these upper classes of wealth. Definitely pro environment. America is a beautiful country. It should stay beautiful. Um, I voted for Trump twice, but what really disappointed me was his environmental policy, especially with single use plastic. On his website, there was all these Trump straws, and I kind of complained about it, and people were just bashing me. But it was really ignorant. Trump had an opportunity there. He could have come up with a product made from some hemp resin or some natural biodegradable material and said, this is the Trump straw. It's environmentally degradable. And he could have won over that few percent in the middle, that these people who love America, but they love the environment too. That's kind of where I fall in. I love America, but I also love the environment and believe that people should be treated like human beings, not like cattle. I mean, the kind of stuff you learn in church. I mean, a lot of conservatives go to church, but as soon as they step out of church, they believe in all this like capitalism, winner take all stuff. That's just going to lead to a communist society down the road, or end up being a society run by corporations having more power than the government and wiping out unions. So I really don't know what these like religious nuts who vote conservative and still read the Bible. I don't know what they're thinking. Um, but I'm definitely pro education. That we have to pay teachers properly. I think like $150,000 a year if they're going to work in the inner city, and that money can come from taxing celebrities and musicians and influencers and pro athletes. Tax them 80% of anything over $2 million a year. Take 50% of their assets over $5 million, and use that to pay inner city teachers. Why don't we see Colin Kaepernick propose that? And pay inner city policemen also that kind of money. So then that way you get Harvard graduates, going to the south side of Chicago and Baltimore instead of Goldman Sachs. And you'd have to make a condition. It would be like a 5-year program, and they would have to live in the zip code that they're working in. So they could end up buying a house and renovating the house, or it could be a 10-year term. It could be some limited term, so that way that people cycle through this program, no one gets entrenched. And they buy a home, they stay there, they invest in that neighborhood and help build it up, one person at a time. So if you had highly paid teachers and cops there, they would be positive role models for the kids and everything, instead of local drug dealers. And that would fix America from inside out at the expense of these pro athletes, Instagram stars, and all this. And Yeah, I do believe the government has to kind of be parental in that way and kind of steer the society and direct the society to a greater vision that things are fair and the environment's not being ripped off, and that good people and hardworking people can reach their full potential, uh, and then that there's something left for future generations. If you're wondering like what the overall belief is, if you just let people do what they want, it's not working. People with a lot of inherited money and stuff, they got a nice head start and they can manipulate the media and manipulate society. And pretty soon we're going to get something where like 15 families own everything and everyone else is just going to be basically indentured servants or wage slaves. I mean, we're already in America; it's pretty much already there, you know. So that leads me to believe that I'm definitely pro wealth, inheritance, luxury taxes. You know, taxes, especially on imported luxury goods, need to be brought back so we can encourage more American business people to buy Cadillacs instead of Mercedes and things like this. And generational wealth, uh, I think it needs to be taxed. Yeah, it needs to be taxed a lot more than it is. Even the family farms. Um, yeah, sorry, but I would rather see some new people get into farming. So if there's like some gigantic family farm and the person who inherits it just got it without, only thing they had to do was be born, and they get this like 100,000 acre farm or something in the middle of Pennsylvania. Yeah, sorry, I'd rather see it like that they'd have to sell it and then be sold into many small farms and a bunch of families who are, waiting and, could, get into this line of work. Maybe some family that was working in corporate America could, try their luck, and we'd have a bunch of small farms raising better and higher quality food instead of doing all this like large scale stuff and just stuffing us. And that's why we're having a healthcare crisis in America. But if we took a preventative approach to the healthcare, and everyone ate healthy, then the insurance rates would fall and everyone could afford private health insurance. That's kind of the premise there, and government will only pay for the emergency room care and borning children, and and that would be it. And people with chronic diseases who it's no control of their own. I'm definitely pro infrastructure. That creates a lot of good jobs and makes the country more efficient overall. The government should definitely be paying for internet infrastructure to make internet as cheap as possible, or even through the taxes. It would be subsidized in areas where high speed internet. I am with Joe Biden on that. It would improve e-commerce. It would improve information, education. Just then we could put in the self-driving trucks and self-driving tractors and all that stuff could go in there, and we could have a productivity boom. The unions might. That's something where the have some problem with the unions, which I'm very pro. But that would create new jobs, and that would have to be sold to them. That there would be some new jobs, coming out of this. That we'd replace the old jobs with new jobs. It always is true. They thought that industrialization would put everyone out of work. It didn't. It created more work and made life better. And when computers came along, it gave better jobs. America, Europe have record low unemployment now, and there's record automation. So yeah, sorry, union guys, I don't buy that, but I definitely buy that workers should have rights, and they should have weekends, and they should have everyone should get 6 weeks off a year. You shouldn't be a CEO to get 6 weeks off every year, and CEOs shouldn't be making 600 times people's salary. They should be making just 50 times people's salary. They can be rich, but not stupid rich. The last point I want to cover, where I'm very blue, is definitely removing the Confederate symbols. There's no place for this on American or state-owned lands, on federal or state lands. I think it should just be put in museums, and it can be auctioned off to people who care about this stuff. Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis statues and all this stuff. It's just bullshit. We're not going to miss it. The history is not going to change if we take those statues away and replace them with Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses Grant. I'd like to see the sign of the winners. When I say Confederate flag, to me, it's a sign of the loser. They lost. They got beat, just like Japan, just like Germany in World War II. We don't fly their flags. We don't put up their, Hirohito and Yamamoto statues, and we don't put up Hitler statues and fly the swastika flags in commemorance of the war. So this is just stuff that has to go into museums that are privately owned, and people can go and enjoy them there. These figures that I before mentioned, Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, are mentioned in history books already. Everyone knows who they are if they've studied any American history. So nothing is being missed. But I feel quite offended when I see Confederate flag on the Mississippi state flag, that they're receiving federal funds, and then they got a flag embedded in their state flag of a loser, and these states in the South receive some of the most money from the federal government. So damn right, get rid of the Confederate symbols. We don't need them. Now, flipping sides, where I do stand with the conservatives and the Republicans or whatever, I'm definitely pro-gun. Um, Elected governments by nature are corrupt. They all are. Even here in Scandinavia, I'm actually situated in Ukraine right now, but I'm mostly in Norway most of the time. So I just say like I'm in Norway. These are small countries, 10 million people, little countries, in Scandinavia. So inevitably there's like small groups of people that run everything. So I would definitely say that you know we have to have an opposing force to government, and that's the citizens being well armed, and well trained. But also, this is my view about gun control. Guns are like farts. Once they're out there, you're not going to get them back. And so you may as well educate everyone you can, and get society to a point where people's mental health is in a better state, that they're working 40 hours a week and they all got a house, a meaningful job, you know, and if they can't get that, at least that there's some support to get them on into the workforce. And once people are like calm and relaxed, I think we'll have a lot less gun violence, even with more guns out there. But yeah, I am pretty pro-gun, and pretty much in the belief that argument that citizens need to be armed to overthrow their government if their government turns into a drug cartel like they did in Mexico, or if their government turns into a corporation like it's happening in America, where the government's just there to back up the corporations, or you know, yeah, or if the government becomes an unelected government like they are in Russia. They elected Putin; he was supposed to have 2 terms, and then he became a dictator. So if the Russian people all had guns and stuff, they would have been able to shoot him. And now that work has all fallen to the Ukrainians, that they have to get rid of Putin. So definitely we need guns, and we're seeing in Ukraine that private gun owners are doing a lot. Are making a pretty good contribution to the war. I'm definitely for the border wall. We need to have regulated immigration. I'm definitely pro-immigration, but it has to be regulated. People have to come in here. They have to know their rights. They can't be exploited. The biggest exploiter of immigrants are people of their own kind. So if a Mexican person comes illegal to America, more than likely it's going to be another Mexican person exploiting them. And then when they're illegal, they have nowhere to go. They're underpaid. They don't have any rights. They're not even paying taxes. They don't have any access to services. So we got to have a queuing system. What we could do in addition to the border wall is also take the next 40, 50 miles south of the border from Mexico, just clean it out. Put the 82nd Airborne there, and just clean out all the drug cartels and make it a pleasant place to live. And then while people are waiting to get immigration from America, they could live in this like intermediate America. I don't know, they could call it that, kind of call it a new country or something. But we really have to rein in Mexico, and why are they so different than America and Canada? We really have to fix that. But until that's fixed, we need to have a proper wall and let people in a regulated way, so that they get social security numbers, that they get proper English lessons, that they know how to call the police when they're getting exploited, that they get education. And this wealth and luxury tax could pay for trade education. We still need welders and people in America. So what difference is it? If the field is not getting filled with Americans, then we bring in immigrants to fill in that gap. But they have to be brought in the right way, so that they pay taxes and they speak English, and they can enjoy life the same as anyone else, and get on a path to citizenship and appreciate the country. They should be educated about the history and why America is different. When I moved to Norway, and became a citizen, I had to take Norwegian lessons for 300 hours. I had to pass an exam, two exams, one for language and one for history and culture. It wasn't easy. I had to study at night. It took years. It took years and years and years, and then I finally passed all these tests. But I really appreciate Norway. I speak the language. So yeah, yeah, we need that, and we need regulated immigration, and we need like worker immigration, not so that companies can make a profit. Like we have these consulting companies like Tata Consulting Services. They bring people over from India for $40,000 a year, and they build them out at $120,000 a year and pocket the money. And they do that. They bring the Indian workers over instead of investing into Americans, or instead of investing into new immigrants who just came over, who are on the path to being citizens. So I agreed with Trump, like on H-1Bs, that the minimum salary should be $130,000 a year. So that way you're only bringing workers from India, or Ukraine, or wherever, Russia, well, not Russia anymore, as for their skills, and not just to arbitrage their wages, just doing some quick arbitrage, pay them like half of what they're really worth, and then bilk the client out for twice what they're worth. That's like the business model of a lot of companies, and that should be stopped. Everyone should get paid what they're worth when they're on American soil. There shouldn't be two classes of people. My parents came from India, and they became citizens and everything, and they had to work really hard to get a good salary and everything. And then when they had this wave of Indian immigrants coming over on these H-1Bs, and then they would be sent back and everything, and it basically devalued our work. When they're coming with these consulting companies, that a non-citizen and stuff is allowed to be underpaid so much. And then when people see us who've been in America for generations, that we can be underpaid too. So definitely have some personal interest. It's like a pride thing, that they should bring people over in the right way, and everyone on American soil should get equal treatment. It is a different kind of discrimination. And when people are on the path to becoming immigrants or becoming citizens or residents, they need to learn about American history, the American Constitution, why we're different, and they need to have an oath and allegiance to the country. That's not too much to ask for giving a better life and giving all that opportunity. It's not too much to ask in return. You can't just come to a country and take everything and then go shit on it, or try to turn it into Russia, or turn it into India or something. There is a culture in America, and it is a European culture mostly. And I mean, yeah, we do have touches of other cultures and stuff, but people have to appreciate that. I mean, I am really kind of red on that. So I think the hippies and stuff that like my policies up there would be mad at me about that. I'm definitely pro term limits and lobbyist reform, and I mean term limits on all government jobs. Elected, unelected jobs, that people shouldn't be in a government position for any more than 12 years, two times in the Senate, or six times in the Congress, or maximum 12 years in a federal job. I don't really believe that you should be able to retire from the government. You should use that as to start your career, and then go out in the private sector and build your career there, because I'm pro union. So then companies will be treating people better and giving them better pay and better planning for retirement. So I think the government should be a place where people launch their careers, but not become like lifers. Maybe there would be some specialist positions like scientists or something like this, but it would have to be very far and few between. But just normal bureaucrats and people just moving papers around. These kind of jobs need to be like automated as much as possible. I can tell you, in Norway, which is a very highly socialist country, they actually have a lot of government automation, and they're reducing head counts in many government offices. My passport was actually processed by artificial intelligence. It used to take like a year or two when you applied for your Norwegian passport to the point you would get it. And I got it like done in like less than 6 months with the new system. So they're always trying to find ways to be more efficient. And so a lot of people in Norway use the government to start their careers, and then they go out into a private company later. But I don't know the statistics on that, but I've definitely seen that government can be efficient. And if you bring the right people into the jobs and they have some limits on what they can earn and what their benefits are, I think um, that would motivate them to use it to build their resume instead of just vegging. But I think the government benefits are a little bit too much, and private sector benefits are a little too little. So somewhere we have to reduce this luxury life of government workers and increase the quality of life for private sector workers, and have a drive to always have a more efficient government. But I think that starts with just the term limits, that people can't stay there and their power grows, just by time. We have to keep cycling people through. Although I'm pro environment, I'm definitely pro domestic oil and gas production. I do believe gas and oil can be harvested in an environmentally correct way with as minimal disruption to the environment as possible. Now, the government can buy a lot of these family farms and stuff and replant forests, as we get more modern farming techniques, or to compensate for where we have to drill the oil. But as we've seen in Ukraine, and with the way Russia's acting, America needs to be the leader in oil and gas production, so that we're not dependent on the Middle East and everything. We can add taxes to oil and gas to, fund new energy sources, build more nuclear power plants. This ocean wave technology, I think, is viable. Harvesting the sea waves. I think there's some new tech for that. I'm not a believer in solar panels or windmills. That's a 10% solution. And I think that's a lot of greenwash there. But at least if we could get to nuclear power, so we can double the gas. We produce like crazy amounts of oil and gas, so it's only $30 a barrel on the world markets and puts Russia and the Middle East out of business. Then for Americans and Europeans, we can put 100% tax on it. So if it's $1 a gallon, we make it $2.50 a gallon, and use that to build all the infrastructure we need to go to an electric economy, like nuclear power plants and this wave energy, geothermal energy, harvesting from the volcanoes or the lava underground, and build all of that. So in 20 years, we can switch over and then make oil and gas completely worthless. I think that would be a good positive approach. I think that's a solution people can live with. It won't compromise their lifestyle. I mean, I know a lot of the people in West Virginia with their red pills and their guns would be mad. Oh, this is a very authoritarian government's telling me what to do. But if you don't do it this way, then Russia's going to get all the power, Iran's going to get all the power, and eventually they're going to encroach on us. And that's going to be a bigger problem to deal with than your own government is dealing with those governments. Wait till those people send you to camps, and you're not going to be able to fight them off, at that point. They're going to have all these poor masses in America, unregulated masses in America, uneducated masses in America on their side. That's just how, like Stalin and Lenin, they thrived on ignorance. So yeah, that's why we have to have a lot of education. That's why we got to pay teachers 150 grand a year and send them into the inner city, at the expense of celebrities and pro athletes. Definitely pro-interventionist foreign policy, neocon policy. We got to be watching Russia, China, Iran, the Middle East, and take them out before they take us out. Why are they trying to get all this nuclear weapons and tanks and fifth generation fighter jets? I don't think it's for self-defense. You only need like air defense missiles for self-defense. They're building aircraft carriers. They have an ambition to project their power and to take out America. They're sick of us. They're sick of the American way of thinking. They're sick of people being free and choosing the way they want to do things. They're tired of you know people just being able to express themselves, or say what they want, within reason. They hate that. They don't like that. Their power, the people, these ruling families in these countries don't like it, that their power could be threatened, that the media can call them out. They don't like seeing the royal family of England, for example, being called out. That disturbs them a lot, seeing Prince Andrew or Donald Trump or whatever, these people at royalty level being able to be called out by the media. Um, so yeah, definitely pro defense, having a big ass American military as much as possible. You know, and it should be all over the world. The CIA should be fully active. And yes, maybe they do some wrong things, but it's not as wrong as Russia and China do. It's all relative, and we got to be there first. If we were more active in Afghanistan, 9/11 wouldn't have happened. If we would have had, more better ears there and processed the signals better, 9/11 would have never happened. So, if we're asleep, or Pearl Harbor, there's so many examples where we're asleep at the wheel, and then, or Ukraine, and then things happen. So if we had the CIA more active in Ukraine and gave them heavy weapons and switchblade drones without broadcasting it. I don't like how they broadcast all this weapons shipments. They should just be doing it quietly. Then we could even get away with more. We could have like B-2 bombers launching, stealth missiles or something, and then just give the credit to the Ukrainian rebels that they did this with like a potato gun, and that way we have deniability. We could have gotten a lot more arms in here and done a lot more black ops. But definitely America needs to be ahead of this. America doesn't only need to be first; it needs to be front, center, foremost. First on the left, first on the right. It's got to be like if America's not first, the civilized world will just finish last. And then there won't be any gay rights, women rights, or any of this stuff that the liberals want. There won't be any of these unisex bathrooms and all this stuff that liberal people want. So you better get it that America first means that it's civilized world, free expression, fringe group rights, people, minority rights. That's what America first is about. Um, Another thing I think a lot of people have issue with me on is I'm definitely pro-life. I do believe that life begins at conception, but I'm also against the death penalty. I'm pro all life. I don't think we need the death penalty. It's only the lawyers getting rich. All the states in America with death penalty have higher crime rates than states without the death penalty because the lawyers eat up all the resources that could be used to rehabilitate people and put them back out in society. Um, a death penalty case is anywhere from $6 to $30 million to process, and that all goes to law firms. Again, it's better to pay that money to teachers, pay the teachers better, and have more after-school programs, more trade school programs, apprenticeships, than to give it to a law firm. And those law partners are all, raking in, millions of dollars a year, and then they don't even have to pay that high taxes. They don't have all these loopholes and stuff, and it's all federal money. It's all your tax money paying those lawyers. It's not stopping anything. So I'm pro all life. So yeah, no death penalty, no abortion. And I'm definitely pro privacy and transparency. All the government spending budget needs to be online. I'm definitely against spying on American people. I admire what Snowden did, exposing that. Government doesn't have any right to do that. They have to go through a court process, get a warrant, have probable cause. Yeah, there might be some preventative terrorist prevention and stuff there, but still they have to go through a process. I kind of agree with the Patriot Act thing that there's some confidential courts. If there's some immediate threat, I can understand that. But just general spying on the public and safeguarding people's private information, that's a big one. People should own their own data, and companies should have to buy it. As Facebook and these companies need to be reined in. YouTube, again, antitrust, mass media needs to be broken up, so that maybe at most they have audiences of like 20, 30 million people, and then a new service has to start up. So that way there's competition in the services. And what are we aiming for here? We're aiming for a balanced society, that the wealth keeps getting put back into the society to give opportunities to new people, so people who are restless can climb, and they can climb to a certain point, and then they have to give back, of course, to keep the system going. So we're preventing a communist revolution. Because, like I said, if it's like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk get all the money, and everyone else has nothing, they're probably going to end up dead anyway. People will burn them out of their houses. There'll be some like new Joseph Stalin will emerge, and it wouldn't be good for them in the long run. Look at the Romanovs in Russia. We need to make America the most beautiful country in the world. We need environmental sustainability, but we can't do it to the point where we're choking our necks. But we got to extract oil and resources in a very environmentally correct way. Repair the lands. It might cost more, but America needs to have its own minerals and its own oil, so it's not depending on the belligerent nations like Russia and Iran and China, or a lot of these dictatorships in Africa. Um, we need a merit-based society that's fair and compassionate. That, yeah, people who are smart and contributing can get rich, but not stupid rich. There still has to be some fairness and compassion. That not everybody is ambitious or smart, and they should have a minimum standard of living, especially in a Western nation. That we shouldn't have slums, and we should have more you know, programs and stuff, so people aren't just feeling hopeless. and get the work week back down to 40 hours so that people can take up more interest, and that would actually lead to innovation. These people who used to do stuff in their garage invented a lot of stuff. So we get a lot of people getting some hobbies and stuff, and that would give more ideas. We definitely need to reinvigorate or revive American culture and what it is. That it's about being independent, it's about being healthy, it's about being accepting, it's about taking risks, it's about compassion, the Christian values. I just really get baffled, like I said, by these Republicans. They call them, that are, or these Christians that call themselves Republicans and are all this like they're pro corporations and anti regulations, and they're anti government. I mean, they talk out of their mouth and ass at the same time. And then they don't want any taxes to, pay teachers properly and all this stuff, except in their own districts. They don't understand that the inner city kids will come to their school district and start selling drugs. If there's no hope in their side of town, then they'll find a way by extracting money from the suburbs. So we need to kind of get things more balanced out, and that people who are capable can get on a path other than the military. There's got to be some trade paths because you have to meet certain health requirements with the military, but we got to bring up trade school and apprenticeships more, make that more accessible and everything. And we definitely need to have a strong country. We need to have like tons of weapons and the best weapons like these javelin missiles and stuff. And we need to just be armed to the hilt so no one messes with us or our allies. And we need to start like dismantling countries like Russia, Iran, China, start disrupting them, start getting away from them, and break them up into much smaller nations that can be managed because they don't have anything good. They are up to no good. They don't have any long-term plan to just live within their borders and be like nice people. They're not nice to their own people. And I think we're understanding that now with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and their threats to Finland and Poland and their wish to restore the Soviet Union. We need to kill that in any belligerent nation dictator's mind. America has always been an aggressive country, even before it was born. They sent the Marines to Tripoli to deal with the pirates, the Barbary pirates in the late 1700s. Even that was 1775, and America was born in 1776. The nation, the United States. I mean, America was there, but the U.S. Marines were already at it even before the country was founded. To take out our enemies on a proactive, in a preventative way. And America needs to become a country that's efficiently using resources, tax resources, environmental resources, stuff. We have to find ways to recycle things, be like the Germans a little bit. Have these like vending machines that take the bottles and give you back some money and reuse what we have. And that way we're not taking from nature. We really need to have this attitude that America is the most beautiful country and we want to minimize the take from nature, not just rape the country. And, we want to leave things for future generations so that and America needs to be like, yeah, there for the next 1,000 years, because otherwise, if America goes, then the whole world will be like a China or Russia. That's not a world we want our future to live in. But anyway, I'll make another video specifically about the taxes and stuff I had in mind on how to deal with this. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crazy comments, but yeah, please send them in. Anyway, take care and goodbye.